Well, good afternoon and welcome to Lindsey College. It's so great to see so many familiar faces out in the crowd. And I want to give a special thank you to the students who chose to be here on this Friday afternoon and be part of this festivity. Thank you for being here. It's hard to imagine that I am in my 31st year at Lindsey College and my 16th year as president. Somehow I have to confess that those years have been much kinder to my beautiful wife Elise than they have been to me. But we've been having a lot of fun here in our work at Lindsey College, and I can't imagine anything more meaningful than the opportunities to impact lives here on this campus. In fact, that's what you do. Impact lives here on this campus through the Endowed scholarships that you've established. I think it was a few years ago that I was feeling a little squirrely, and I issued this grand pronouncement that we needed to grow our endowment to $100 million. Now, in the first 107 years of our existence as a college, we had amassed roughly $9 million. That's a long way from $100 million. But here we are, 3 years later, and our investments have now more than doubled to $18.4 million. Now, while we're still a long way from our goal, we're a lot closer than we once were. I sometimes worry about the mixed messages that we send. Our residence halls are filled beyond capacity. As we've seen our residential enrollment mushroom to 1,149 students, a 59% increase in the last 5 years. We need another residence hall. At the same time, our dining center was built to serve 600 students. And they do an incredible job, somehow feeding nearly twice that number. Our classrooms are filling up as we look to add new programs. And yet we need unrestricted giving to balance our operating budget and to provide the kinds of experiences and opportunities that we want our precious students to have. And here we are today thanking you and at the same time challenging you to help us reach that $100 million goal in our endowment. Let me close by sharing with you a poem that I came across earlier this week. The title of the poem is Must I Give Again? Must I give again? Angel, must I give again? I ask in dismay. And must I keep giving and giving it away? Oh no, said the angel. His glance pierced me through. Just keep giving till the Lord stops giving to you. Just keep giving till the Lord stops giving to you. We are all so very blessed here in this room. Thank you for giving and for giving again. And may the Lord continue to richly bless each and every one of you. Thank you. I'm going to pinch hit for Mr. P, and I'm going to introduce our keynote speaker, David Carey, today, and it's a real privilege. David is a member of my Board of Trustees, where he serves on the Academic Affairs Committee and the Student Services Committee. He is brilliant. He is so smart, and you will understand that the minute he starts to speak. Just the way he sort of weaves words together. It's kind of poetic in terms of how he speaks. So I'm looking forward to his message, I got to tell you that. He is currently the Chief Marketing Officer at Bentley University in Boston. Elise and I visited David and Lori out in Seattle, where he before that was the Vice President of Marketing and Communications at Seattle Children's Hospital. And before that, he was out at Microsoft, where a man named Bill Gates knew him by his first name, and his last name for that matter. Other names. See what I mean? So anyhow, let me just have you give a warm Lindsey College to David Carey, who established the David and Lori who established the Gertrude and Donald Carey Endowed Scholarship in honor of his parents. David, please come up. We'd love to hear from you.
Well, I always have to start by adjusting the mic, particularly when you follow Bill Lucky. It's a tough day for a guy from Boston, I have to tell you. If you guys are following baseball, so you got to bear with me. I'm a little down. I'm not my normal jovial self. But, you know, I stand before you today as a proud board member of Lindsey Wilson, and also as a proud donor, but particularly as a proud son of Donald and Gertrude Carey, who couldn't be here today. My father passed in 1990, and my mother's a little down at the age of 88, or she'll be 88 next week, but she would love to be here. And their name is on the scholarship, as Bill mentioned. But probably the biggest thrill for me as a donor is to be able to sit next to Quentin Ford from Campbellsville, Kentucky, who's a sophomore here, and who was in Gerald Chafin's choir, to see this scholarship being used in a very productive way for a very unique young man to pursue his education, which I think may lead to seminary school, which is very exciting. Now, what I like to see in young people is transparency, right? Integrity and honesty. So I said to Quentin, I said, what made you decide to come to Lindsey Wilson? And he said, well, the scholarship made a big difference. That was a required response, I think. And then he said, Gerald Chafin's choir was a real draw, and that was very important. But definitely it was the food. And, you know, I admire that in people. That's good. Well, you know, a couple of weeks ago, I got a call from Kevin Thompson in my office in Boston, and he started the call by saying, Bill Lucky and I have an idea. And I'm going to warn you, when you get a call and it starts that way, get ready. And he said, we want you to be the keynote speaker. And my first response was, what, Steve Bashir can't make it? What's the deal? He said, no, we want you to, you know, share some remarks on your scholarship and why you're involved. And I thought that was nice. I tried to talk him out of it, but he's a very persistent guy. So here I am. And for the last 2 weeks, I've been asking myself, why am I here? You know, why am I a part of Lindsey Wilson College? I'm not an alum. I'd never been to Columbia until I came to, to visit a friend of mine who I'll talk about in a minute. I was raised Methodist. That was definitely a key link. But I really didn't know much about Lindsey Wilson. So I took a different path than maybe many of you, or a similar path than many of you out there. But it really is based on inspiration, and that'll be the theme for the next few minutes for me. I guess if we're going to blame or credit anyone, I'll implicate 3 people in this. The first one is my father, Donald Carey. My most vivid memory of him 40 years ago was sitting at a card table in our home in Louisville. And he would bring work home so he could spend time with me and watch TV on our old RCA TV. And he would write checks and do different things. And one night he had opened an envelope from a college, and he was writing a check. I think it was a $50 check. In this case, it was to Alice Boyd College in Kippapassas, Kentucky. And I thought this was odd for 3 reasons. One, he didn't go to Alice Boyd College. He went to school at night on the GI Bill at University of Louisville after World War II. I don't think he'd ever been to Kippapassas, Kentucky. And I overheard my mother and him talking, and we weren't in a position to be philanthropists by any means. And I kind of wanted a Stingray bike with a banana seat coming my way a few months later. You know, so I said, why are you doing this? And he said, institutions like this have a mission, and I believe in that mission. And I think this small check can make a big difference in someone's life. And I vividly, that's the most vivid memory of my father, other than a graffiti incident on our back fence with some paint a few years later. But that really stuck with me. And I said I was going to pay it forward if I ever had the chance. The second person to be implicated, I'd say this is definitely blamed, is a guy a lot of you know, Guy Adams. Guy Adams is a childhood friend of mine. He grew up right across the street from me in Louisville, Kentucky. And my mother babysat for Guy. And Guy got into a little trouble. This is not a profile of Guy, so I won't go deep into that. But he's been a lifelong friend. And about 30 years after that story I told you, where my father wrote the check, he landed here in charge of fundraising advancement for Lindsey Wilson. And at that time, after being yelled at by Bill Gates and other executives at Microsoft over the years, I left with a little cash in hand. And my wife Lori and I said we were going to give back. And we wanted to give back to education. We wanted to do it in Kentucky, where we were both from. And we wanted to do it in a special way in my father's name, who had passed away, and my mother. And so I reached out to Guy, and over the phone we worked out this scholarship. And he was able to deliver the package, the scholarship, to my mother, to her doorstep, to her one Christmas Eve. Now that's service, I tell you, the Lindsey Wilson touch. And I know that's the greatest gift she ever received, maybe other than the birth of her son in 1962. But, and it was the greatest gift we had ever given her, that's for sure. I know she would be very thrilled to be here and meet Quint and see all of your smiling faces, that's for sure. But this is really not about giving credit or blame. I work at a business school, I have 2 business degrees. For me, it's a little bit of math, formula, if you will. And I know some of you are saying, wait, I was told there'd be no math over lunch, right? But this is a simple formula, and I even have a visual aid. I couldn't use PowerPoint, which really, really cripples someone in marketing. You can't have your PowerPoint slides. So give me a minute. Here we go. The formula, maybe Bill, you can hold this up. We got to do something worthwhile right over there. So, P plus P plus P equal ROI. I call it the 3P, the Carey 3 Ps. And it translates, here we go, boys. But band of white here. Purpose plus place plus people equal return on inspiration. That's the I in ROI. And I'll go through this quickly. As I said, it's not heavy, it's not new math. But purpose, that's the first piece. This is definitely a mission-driven institution. You can feel it every day, everywhere. There are certain institutions that are mission-challenged, but this is a mission-driven institution. And I felt it from the first day I stepped foot on this campus. Every student, every day is the mantra, and we live it here. I would never change that rallying cry. That is perfect for this institution. We practice what we preach. We walk the talk. We're living it, and as they say in the McDonald's ad, we're loving it. And I really think this place has purpose. Now, when you say place, many people think the physical aspect. And every time I come here, there's a new building or a dedication. A couple of years ago, it was the nursing school. There's a football stadium. There's a new auditorium that I sat in last night, watched Robert Ford's theater students practice for Pippin. That's going to be good. I wish I could come back for that. But that's important, but it's the spiritual part too. It's the sense of place. Great colleges have a true sense of place that goes beyond the physical. This is the beacon on the hill. You'll hear many alumni talk about the hill. And I think miracles have, will, and do happen here every day, for sure. And then people, the most important ingredient. I've already mentioned Bill and Guy and Kevin, many of them implicated, but there's folks like John Begley, who's a true icon of this institution, or Bob Holloway. My mother goes to church with Bob Holloway. He's a true inspiration, a true icon. If it weren't for these 2 gentlemen, I don't think we'd be here today. And then I look around and look at the students, Quentin and his fellow students, the faculty and the staff. That's really what makes this place unique. I even always pick up the newspaper. I'm here. I read about Sydney Clark, a freshman, who's legally blind and has a guide dog. He's walking around this campus. I saw her yesterday. She will be welcomed here. She will excel here. She'll do great things. And you'll all be better for it, that's for sure. And then finally, it comes to staff. I have a favorite staff member, I have to admit. She's a personal hero of mine. That's Denise Fudge. When I come in for board meetings and she reports, it's like listening to a miracle worker, her and her staff, pull together these financial aid packages every year in and year out. And let me tell you, I work in higher ed. It's not getting any easier. It's going to get a lot tougher, too. That's where we come in. But I'm just amazed at the work they do. And a couple years into the University of Kentucky, I'm a UK alum. That was a bad morning for UK, too. It's a double dose of depression. Where's the Prozac jar? No. There had been a paperwork malfunction at the Office of Financial Aid at the University of Kentucky, and I wasn't going to get to go to my junior year. I was president of my fraternity. I was active on campus. My dad came in, and They worked it out. The financial aid office worked it out. And I'll always remember that as well. They do great things in that office, and there's kids that probably wouldn't be here if there weren't some really creative thinking and creative work on the part of that team. So I really want to acknowledge them. And so it all adds up to ROI, this return on inspiration. So I ask you, what is your inspiration? What brought you here? Why are you here? And I think we'd all have wonderful stories, probably better than mine. That $50 check 40 years ago was an inspiration for me. I still think about it. And I think my father would be very inspired to see what's happening here. I know he would. He'd love to meet Quentin, and I think he'd love to see what you all are doing with this place. And he's probably smiling up there somewhere. I hope I get in too. It's still up for debate, I think. But we're all inspired. And I believe, I'm a branding guy, I believe we're all brand ambassadors for Lindsey Wilson College. You tell stories, you out-talk people. A lot of marketing now is grassroots. It's telling your story, telling about what's going on here, and more people need to hear it. There's a very unique model here at Lindsey Wilson. I've seen a lot of them. I'm in the business, and I think you've got something very, very special. So be ambassadors, evangelize, now more than ever. I know Denise and her team will appreciate it. A lot of the funding you're going to see in the future is private. It's institutional funds. It's not from the state, and it's not from the federal government, and it's only going to get smaller. On that happy note, I'll leave you with a quote. You know, I'm a short guy. I went for a medical exam. I go every year now, and I keep on telling the nurse I'm 5'7", and she says, "You're 5'6 3/4". I said, "Can we round up?" You know. So I like quotes from short guys, and this quote's from Gandhi. And I was going to tell you, I was at the Boston Public Library reading great literature, and I stumbled on this. I was at a Boston College football game, and this quote was on the back of a t-shirt of a guy 3 rows in front of me. So talk about transparency. But you know, we get our inspiration in all different places. The best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. And I would proclaim that everyone in this room is totally lost. We're lost in the service of others, and we're lost in the love for Lindsey Wilson College. With that, I want to thank you, and I want to say God bless you, God bless Lindsey Wilson, and I'd like you to say just a small little prayer for the rest of us. Thank you.